Hello my friends, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Erin and today is Friday, which means it is Book Review Friday once again, and February is Women in Horror Month and I am so excited. I'm only going to be reading horror books from women authors. So every Book Review Friday you will see from me will be featuring a woman author. I am trying to get as many books read this month as possible, so I am reading on my spare time as well, so I will have a wrap-up video about all the books I've read, but I am going to try to do all women. I think there will be one or two books that aren't by women because of some book clubs that I'm in, but every other book will be by a woman, and I am so excited. Today we are talking about Horrid by Katrina Leno. I'm so excited about this book. Oh, I'm so excited. Whoa, I can't even speak. I'm so excited about today's book review. I have been dying to read this book as soon as I saw the cover. I will admit that I only bought this book for the cover. I actually had no idea what this book was about when I first saw it on Bookstagram. I didn't even look at the plot. Honestly, I just bought it for the cover because I thought it was so beautiful. Now, this is actually a YA horror, and I don't usually love YA horror. I like YA, I don't mind reading it, but sometimes I feel like YA horror kind of misses the mark, and so I'm not as big of a fan of it as, you know, other types of horror. So I was a little bit nervous because I thought this was gonna be, you know what I'm talking about, but I was pleasantly surprised, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's go to the cover. Like I said, I think this is probably one of the prettiest covers that I have ever seen in my entire life. The roses are so beautiful and ominous. The colors are very, almost like watercolor-like. I don't know, it's creepy, but it's also so breathtaking. I told my boyfriend that I thought this was a beautiful cover, and he kind of made fun of me because he was like, yeah, that's beautiful, sure, but I feel like you guys will get what I'm saying. It's just, I don't know, there's something unsettling about it, but also just very beautiful. So I do love it. The cover makes sense with the plot, which you guys know I love. It always makes me happy when the plot and the cover match, because if they don't, it slightly irritates me. Let's move on to a little plot synopsis, and then I will move on to telling you guys what I think. Jane's father has recently passed away from a heart attack, which has left Jane and her mother Ruth grief-stricken and shocked. Because of financial reasons, Jane and her mom decide to move from Los Angeles back to the mom's hometown in Maine. Jane really doesn't know anything about the small town that her mom grew up in, or really anything about her mom's childhood. Her mom's very secretive about it all, and she doesn't seem like she wants to go back. They move into her mom's childhood home called North Manor, which is the stereotypical creepy house in all small towns. I feel like every small town has a creepy house like this, so it's just that designated creepy house. North Manor, as Jane soon finds out, is not only creepy looking, but it also seems to be haunted. She sees a light in the upstairs room when no one is upstairs. She hears noises that are definitely not the house just settling, and she has bizarre and weird dreams, just to name a few things that she experiences. Jane's mom obviously brushes off Jane's worries. She tells her this is just grief taking a toll on her, faulty wiring, and the house being old. But her mom definitely seems off ever since they arrived at North Manor. She's keeping things from Jane, but how dark are the secrets she's keeping? Okay, that's all I'm gonna tell you guys. I hope it gave you a good little bit of the story, but not too much. I don't want to give too much away. So let's go ahead and move into my overall thoughts and opinions on this book. I really enjoyed the plot of this story. I love haunted house stories. They never get old to me. They never get boring. They're always exciting because they're always slightly different. I mean, sometimes they can be a bit repetitive, sometimes they can be a little bit, you know, generic, but usually I find haunted house stories very fun, very entertaining, and just a good time. This one kept me on my toes though. I really had no idea what I was getting into because there are so many things going on in this story. There's a bunch of themes, and it just feels like I couldn't pinpoint exactly which one was the overarching idea. Like I said, there's a lot going on. There's the themes of grief and loss. Ruth and Jane are both dealing with losing a loved one, and it's very apparent throughout the story that they are both grieving the entire time. You have the relationship between Jane and Ruth, a mother-daughter relationship, losing the father, you know, triangle aspect. Usually there's a three-person dynamic, but with the father not being alive anymore, there's only a two-person dynamic, which changes things drastically, obviously. So they're getting used to Jane and her mother just being Jane and her mother, just the two of them. And then of course you have the paranormal activity, the haunted house, which I feel like combining those plus some other things that I don't necessarily want to touch on, just because I feel like you should read it for yourself and get the full picture that way, but all those themes make the story much more complex and just different than most haunted house stories. So I did appreciate that. The atmosphere is absolutely lovely. Oh my god, it's so beautiful. I love a good atmosphere. I love when books, beginning to end, just capture me into the story. I personally can get swept into a story pretty easily. I don't think it's too hard for me to get into the story and feel connected, but when the atmosphere is just right, it's different. It makes the experience different, and I feel like if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying. But this book was just beautiful. The descriptions, the language, the writing was just so atmospheric. I mean, it just made me feel like I was there. I could see everything in my head perfectly. I knew exactly what was happening. I could picture it perfectly in my head, and I think that added a lot to the overall story for me, because if it hadn't been quite like that, I don't know how much I would have liked it. But with the atmosphere, I really felt myself getting more involved, and especially emotionally, I was much more emotionally involved because of the atmosphere. This is more of a slow burn novel, which I am not usually a fan of. And I say usually because it really just depends on the book, the writing, the story. You know, there are factors that can make me like it or not like it. But typically I like my horror fast-paced. I like it to just kind of throw me into the trenches and just give me to the crazy stuff. You know, I just like to be thrown in. So slow burns aren't always my favorite because I get disinterested very fast and I get a little bored, and I find myself not wanting to read or having to reread paragraphs, you know, that kind of thing. But I didn't find that was the case with this book, and I think going back to the fact that it was very atmospheric, that's the reason why. The slow burn was there, but the added elements didn't make me lose interest, I guess. Hopefully that makes sense. I found this to be very unsettling and creepy, which I was very impressed with, because usually YA horror comes off very cheesy and predictable and typical and just not really that exciting, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if that's just me, but usually I don't find YA horror to have that creep factor that I'm looking for. It's a little more tame. It's a little bit, you know, because it's for a younger audience. So it's just not as exciting. But I didn't find this to be like that. It was very creepy and unsettling, and I think it had a lot to do with the fact that I never knew what was going on in this book. And you guys know, I usually love that. I love when I don't know what's happening in a book because it keeps me interested, and that's what this did. It did it so well. I was dying to know what was going on. I had to keep reading. I just sat there and was glued to the book because I just needed to know what was going on because I was so enamored with the story, but I had no idea what was happening. I was also always waiting in anticipation of what was going to happen next. I always felt like something was about to happen, which heightened my anxiety a lot. So I think that also helped with the creepy, unsettling feelings. The anxiety that I was feeling while reading was because I was just very heightened in my feelings. Let's talk about Jane, our main character. Jane, oh Jane, she is an interesting gal. She loves reading Agatha Christie books. She collects them. She loves Agatha Christie, and for some reason, probably because I am a reader, I always love when the main character is also a reader, when they love reading. I don't know why, it just obviously makes it more relatable because I am a person reading a book and the character is reading a book. So it's like, you know, funny, we have something in common, so it's easier to connect with. But I just thought it was funny that she liked Agatha Christie novels. It just was like a weird element, but it was also kind of just really cute. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I've never read an Agatha Christie novel in my entire life, but Jane makes me want to, so maybe I have to. Jane also has some anger issues. She feels anger very intensely and very deeply. As soon as she gets set off into her anger, it's like it consumes her. It's all she can think about. She sees red, just red. She is angry. She's also very angry about her father's death, which I don't think is that strange. I think that's a pretty normal way for her to cope with her grief. But yeah, she's a very, very angry person. She has a lot of anger, and it takes a lot to calm her down. The way Jane copes with her anger is a whole different topic that I'm not going to get into because I don't really want to spoil it. It's not really a spoiler, but I don't really want to get into it. So yeah, her anger and the way she copes with it is a whole different topic. So it's very interesting though. So if you have read the book, I'd love to get your thoughts on that. She's also a very unreliable main character, which I feel like is pretty common with haunted house stories. In a lot of horror stories, actually, I feel like the main character can usually be unreliable. Like Jane just sees and hears things that no one else can. She hears music that others can't. She sees things that others can't. As the reader, it is sometimes hard to decide if she is just experiencing things that are only able to be seen by her, or if it is psychological. Again, I think that's a pretty typical thing for paranormal activity or haunted house stories or anything like that. I feel like the main character, there's always a period of time where you're not sure if they are imagining things or if it is actually happening and other people just can't see it. So it's not that unusual. So I didn't know if I was going to touch on it a bit, but she is a pretty unreliable main character. She does have memories come back to her at certain parts in the story that she didn't remember before as well, which can complicate for the reader what exactly is going on. So my one criticism of this book is that the plot twist, or what I assume is supposed to be the plot twist, was very anticlimactic. And now I'm not talking about the ending. The ending is different in my opinion. There is a plot twist that was, I thought, revealed in one section of the story, but then is later revealed again, and I felt like it was supposed to be shocking in the second reveal, but I was kind of confused because I thought it was pretty obvious. Maybe people feel differently. I obviously can't tell you what it is, but I'm not sure if the second reveal was more for the main character, Jane, if it was just aimed directly at her, because she didn't know. But again, I feel like it was obvious. I don't know. I felt a little about that. I just felt like it should have been a little more punchy. Maybe the first reveal shouldn't have happened if they wanted to do the second reveal, because if they hadn't had the first reveal, I feel like I would have been more shocked at the second reveal. Maybe I'm not sure if I would have been, but I feel like it would have been better at the second reveal to reveal everything than at the first point, because it didn't really make sense to have two reveals of the same plot twist. Maybe I thought it was a plot twist and it's not, but yeah, I didn't love the way that was exposed to the reader. The ending. My opinion on the ending is very different from the plot twist I just talked about. Apparently, this ending is very disliked on Goodreads. I was reading some reviews after I finished the book and people really did not like the ending. I personally didn't hate the ending. It is ambiguous, which you guys know is not my favorite kind of ending. I like for things to be wrapped up neat and nice with a little bow. So this was a little annoying because you didn't get more answers. It wasn't like I was angry or upset at the ending. It was more like I was just a little bit disappointed because I was really getting into the story and then it ended, and I didn't mind the ending if it could have been fleshed out a little bit more. I think if there was just a few more pages, like maybe 100 more pages, and it could have just been expanded upon a little bit, the ending wouldn't have been as annoying. I feel like the author just kind of left us on almost a cliffhanger when it could have been wrapped up just a little bit neater. I feel like it ended a little too soon, but I didn't hate the ending. I did enjoy it. Overall, I really liked the book. I thought it was fun. It kept me entertained. I wanted to know what was going on. Like I said, I was very invested in what was happening. All right, my friends, those are my thoughts on Horrid. I had a lot of fun reading this book. I am glad I picked it up solely based off the cover. I'm happy because I ended up really liking it. So, you know, a win-win, because now I have a pretty book to look at. It's so pretty. I'm going to put it on my shelf so I can look at it all the time because I love it. And I also got a good, enjoyable book out of a pretty cover, which doesn't always happen. So I am appreciative of that. If you guys enjoyed, please give me a thumbs up. It lets me know what kind of content you enjoy from me. That way I can keep providing you with that kind of content. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We can become friends, talk about books, movies, makeup, horror, all kinds of things. I do a lot on my channel, so hopefully there's something for everyone. And with that being said, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day and have a wonderful weekend. I hope you're excited for my book reviews for the month of February. And I will see you on Monday with a new video. Bye!